Inscriptions and Political History. Political history studies concentrate on how kingship was legitimized, how state emerged as a political entity, how various kingdoms fought and established their power, how the state controlled the economic asserts and administered the territories. Tamra sasanas, copper plates, or Sila sasanas, stone inscriptions, are available for the reconstruction of history. People of ancient and medieval India felt the importance of the documents and records for the day-to-day activities and sought to preserve the documents for posterity as long as the sun and moon last by etching the records on non-perishable media. While the inscriptions issued by the kings give the details of their expeditions, fame, deeds, and activities, the inscriptions issued by the private individuals present only the names of the king and the regnal year as a point of reference and the main theme of the inscription. The inscriptions of the second category are more in number and they help us to reconstruct the extent and duration of a king's rule. The ideas and concepts including state formation, gender and any other aspects can be studied by critically looking at the information from the inscriptions. Careful analysis of the inscriptions help us to understand the multiple dimensions of the political systems of the medieval period. Inscriptions do help us to reconstruct the polities and dynasties of a particular region and the issues concerning the formation of polity and state. Inscriptions offer two kinds of information. The first dataset is related to the content of the inscriptions. The second dataset concerns the locational context of the inscription and time dimension and association. Inscriptions are crucial to understand the names, regnal years and the area of control and the political and administrative activities of the kings. The data on the dynasties can be obtained from the literary texts, travelers' accounts and inscriptions issued by the kings. Another problem is the adoption of identical names by the kings and princes perhaps became of the tradition that grandfather's name may be given to a person. The earliest coherent royal documents preserved in the form of inscription belong to the Mauryan Emperor Ashoka and they help us to reconstruct the political scenario around the 3rd century BCE in South Asia and West Asia. Excerpt of the Rock Edict 13 of Ashoka. Now it is conquest by Dhamma that beloved of the gods considers to be the best conquest. And it conquest by Dhamma has been won here on the borders even 600 yojanas away where the Greek king Antiochus rules. Beyond there were the four kings named Ptolemy, Antigonus, Magas and Alexander ruled. Likewise in the south among the Cholas and the Pandyas and as far as Tamraparni. Here in the king's domain among the Greeks, the Kambojas, the Nabkhas, the Nabapamkitas, the Bojas, the Pitinikas, the Andhras and the Palidas. Everywhere people are following beloved of the gods instructions in Dhamma. Even where beloved of the gods envoys have not been, these people too having heard of the practice of Dhamma and the ordinances and instructions in Dhamma given by beloved of the gods are following it and will continue to do so. This conquest has been won everywhere and it gives great joy, the joy which only conquest by Dhamma can give. But even this joy is of little consequence. Beloved of the gods considers the great fruit to be experienced in the next world to be more important. The text indicates that the Greek kings Antiochus, Ptolemy, Antigonus, Magas and Alexander ruled in the area to the west of Ashoka's empire. In the southern part of India, the Cholas, the Pandyas and Thampanni, Sri Lanka are mentioned. Thambapanni, Sri Lanka are mentioned. Other edict number 2 of Ashoka mentions about Kerala Putra and Satyaputra of southwestern part of South India. From the above account, it is clear that Ashoka's domain was confined to a central area and certain groups of people and polities were outside and his message of Dhamma reach as far as this area. Hathikumba inscription of Kharavela. This is the most important record regarding the history and achievements of King Kharavela. It is heavily damaged and some of the letters are completely defaced. It contains 17 lines of writing speaking about the life and achievements of Kharavela from his childhood to the 13th year of his reign in perfect chronological order. No epigraphical records so far discovered in India maintain such chronological sequence about a ruler and his achievements. Besides, the most important aspects of the record is that it refers to a number of kings and dynasties of both earlier and contemporary period which throw lights on the history of early India. The inscription is the earliest to refer to Bharatavarsa and mentions many places of importance such as Gorathagiri, Rajagriha, Mathura, Pitunda, and so on. It seems that the composer of the record had a remarkable sense of history, topography, and chronology. In a sense, the record has often been christened as an eulogy of the king. The inscription furnishes the names of four important rulers of ancient India such as Satakarni, Nandaraja, Yavanaraja and Brihaspati in connection with the activities and achievements of Kharavela. Besides the expression Tibasa Satha showing the time gap between Nandaraja and Kharavela throws light on the determination of the chronological position of the king. While Satakarni has been identified with the Satavahana king Satakarni I who ruled in the middle of the 1st century BCE. Nandaraja is identified with Mahabhatmananda, the king of Magadha who ruled in the middle of the 4th century BCE. The latter was the king of Magadha some 300 years, Tivasa Satha before Kharavela. First year, repaired the gates, ramparts and structures of Kalinga Nagari, his capital, which was then severely damaged by a cyclone. Built a flight of steps for the cool tanks and laid out all gardens at the cost of 3,500,000 coins and thus pleased his subjects. Second year, without caring for Satakarni, Kharavela sent to the west a large army consisting of horse, elephant, infantry and chariot and struck terror to Asikanahara with the troop that marched up to the river Kankhavemna. Third year, made arrangements of festivals and gatherings and organized performances of acrobatics, dance and music. Fourth year, the Ratika and Bochaka chiefs were defeated, their umbrella and royal insignia thrown aside and their jewelry and wealth confiscated and were made to pay obeisance at the feet of His Majesty. Fifth year, renovated the aqueduct that had been originally excavated some 300 years before by Nandaraja Mahapadmananda and extended its flow up to Kalinga Nagara through Tanasuli. Seventh year, the queen of Vajirahara, blessed with a son, attained motherhood. Eighth year, attacked Rajagriha in Magadha and forced Abana king to retreat to Mathura. 12th year, brought back the holy ideals of Kalinga's Jain Tirthankars with its crown and the jewels plundered by King Nanda from the Kalinga royal palace along with the treasures of Anga and Magadha were regained. He then attacks Pataliputra, makes King Brahaspati Mitra or Pushya Mitra himself bow at his feet. Prasastis. Prasasti is a genre of text produced as part of the legitimization process of the ruler and the state. Sanskrit poetics, Kavya meter and astronomical details have been incorporated in the Prasastis. The Nasik Prasasti of the Satavahana period is the earliest one in this category. The Allahabad Prasasti of Samudragupta talk about the ancestry of the king his achievements, military exploits, personal qualities, religious affiliations, so on and so forth. Although written in a poetic style, it elaborates the military victories and cultural activities, skills and fame of the kings. The Mekrithis of the Chora inscription are similar to Prasasti in nature. The names of the poets who composed the inscription in the Kavya style are also mentioned in the inscriptions. They are Harisena, who composed the Allahabad pillar inscription of Samudragupta 360 CE. Gubja, the poet of Talagunda inscription of Santivarman 460 CE. Vatsabati of the Mandasore inscription 473 CE. Ravikruti of the Aihole inscription of Pulakesin 2 634 CE. Chittappa of the Bilsa inscription 1050 CE. Vakaspati of the Bhuvaneshwar inscription of Bhavadeva Bhatta 1000 CE. Umapati Dhara of Diopada inscription of Vijayasena 1130 CE. To continue, Nasik Prasasti of Gautami Bala.